booties for black girl nerds.
Thank you so much.
Oh,
Hey, Gabrielle, you look gorgeous as
thank you.
usual.
So do you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for sharing your life with us. This was so beautiful and moving. I'm right in your age group. So it gave me a lot of inspiration because I got just 2 years and I'm right there. So maybe it gave birth to something in me too. But I wanted to begin by saying this was such a testament to the type of person you are, just for the simple fact that all these people went with you on this trip. I can't get people to do a Vegas trip in a timely manner, but you took all these people across the world. So, where were you? What was happening in your life when this first became a real spark to do it on this scale to celebrate your 50th?
We had been talking about, the lead up to 50, probably the last couple years. Like, what do you want to do? And then for 49, we did this really interesting spot in Mexico. And I was like, okay. But I was like, if I want to figure out what the next 50, 60 years is going to be, then I need to know self in a different way than I've ever known me. And in my opinion, the birthplace of civilization, though I think these are backed up by science and facts, is Africa. So to know, for any of us in this world to know self, you need to know the continent. So I wanted to try to hit as many countries across Africa as I could in search of self and who I want to be and who I can be in the next 50, 60 years. It was just really important. And the most peace I have ever felt in life has always happened when I am in Africa. Whether that's, in the past, I've dedicated, at the time, the only breast health hospital in the country of Ghana. And I went, we did the only film festival to take place in the townships in South Africa, in Durban, in Kwamashu. But it was just never, I never had a film crew that was documenting it and it, played it, for the world. But each time I've been, went to the Cairo Film Festival, I felt more peace than I knew was possible. So I was like, okay, well, I want to start there. Where do I feel peace? Where do I feel comfortable enough to even do this kind of personal excavation? And that always leads me back to the motherland. And then it was a matter of deciding which countries and how many I could do and what could I afford and how many people were going to go. And, you invite everybody. We started telling people maybe, I don't know, 9 months out. But of course, the dates kept changing, life. So I just really wasn't expecting that many people to be able to even go, much less to really participate. And some went all 4 countries. So I was so blown away by the level of commitment. And some people I didn't even know were coming until I saw them in Zanzibar. And I was like, just, the whole thing was very emotional. But to see who was able to show up for you against all odds was very special.
Yeah, I mean, it's truly beautiful in that self-discovery. There, I have like these two trains of thought where you go on a self-discovery journey and people say you have to take care of yourself and practice self-love and not pour so much out into other people that it leaves you sort of deficient. But with this journey of self-discovery, it also included you giving to people. So now, as a strong friend who continuously gives and is the key to people, is it easier now for you to accept people also pouring back into you? So what has that thought been like for you?
Well, the notion of the village came into sharp focus while we were there during our experience. I rely heavily on my village to take care of our kids. That's just what it's been. But I still had so much mom guilt about the things I was missing. And what came into focus was the village's voice, the collective voice, the individual voices are just as important as my own. And when I'm not able to make something, the village is still there. The village is still protecting my kids. And it's okay to take care of yourself. It's okay to go to work if I want. It's okay to have a life outside of home, because that's what the village is for. That's what the village has always been. And I'm also okay to be a part of more villages than just this one. And to play a role, and to not be a leader in every village. It's okay to be, the meddling auntie in this village, or the auntie that's the planner over there. Like, we rely so heavily on the village, but we don't always trust it that it's the right thing. Sometimes I think we arrive at the village like, well, I don't have any other choice. When, what other choice is there? This is the most beautiful, loving, nurturing circle that I could imagine. And it's okay to release my mom guilt and all the other things that plague me throughout the day as I'm trying to, handle things. You could see it in practice. And then we could see us modeling it as we were going from country to country and meeting, groups of women, groups of, literal and figurative villages. And it released that in me. And it had become like an old friend, that constant worry and anxiety that I'm failing constantly as a mother. I was able to release that because I saw it in practice beyond just, my mom and my sisters and my girlfriends. I could see it as far as the eye could see, and we were all covered. And I don't know, it was just a different level of confidence.
It is beautiful when you have to see it in practice to know that you're not alone. And, we have our space wherever we reside in the world, and to just see our people on the other side of the world. It's a different journey, but it's still a mirror of what we are all doing, parenting and trying to work and support and be there for people. So all of this was just, it was really, really beautiful. And just even with the connection, even with you, with your husband, Dwayne, just seeing some of the emotional moments that the audience will get to see throughout the 2 episodes. Now being on the other side and watching, have you been able to watch it back? Does it make you, is it uncomfortable for him to watch it? Well, I don't know, because he plays, he played basketball. Seeing these intimate moments played out, how do you both react to them together?
I think we initially watched them separately. And then we've seen it together, I mean, a number of times. And it's the same every time. We're emotional every time. And not in the same exact places that we had been emotional, the previous time that we had watched it. Watching his evolution throughout the series and then what has continued, I don't know who to credit it to, what to credit it to. I don't want to sound like a new age guru or whatever, but there are so many energies, people's in this life and the next life, I guess, that are actively working to show us our best selves and our a different path than the one that perhaps that we feel obligated to follow. And watching him rediscover himself in that river and what came out of the river and what is still happening, all I know is that it is a tremendous difference that I credit to the ancestors, and they're still working and we are still benefiting. And his ease in the world, and I don't know, he laid something down that he had been carrying with him. I know I laid down all kinds of stuff. But when you can kind of see your trauma clearly, and that for some of us, our trauma, we try to figure out ways of using it for our best, the best way that we knew how to. And some of us became successful, as we used our trauma as our fuel. But what happens when the tank runs dry? And you don't want to center your trauma. What is left? And we all found different battery packs, and that are rooted in our own souls. And it's just different. I don't know how else to explain it, but it makes me emotional, and it's just different to watch a man become a full man, and his Blackness is not a footnote.
Mm. Thank you to the ancestors, and thank you to the source, because it was very powerful to see all these moments. And lastly, because they're going to wrap me, your beautiful little Kavya. I just loved watching when you all are going on a safari and just seeing her eyes also looking at the animals, because that's like childhood fantasy right there, to see like the giraffe and everything right there. What has she said about the trip? Does it come up in conversations like, oh, remember when we saw these? Like, what does she say now after going with you?
Well, she's one of the few people, we're from Omaha. Certain words don't come out always as easy, but she can say everything perfectly. She name drops like, oh, when we were in South Africa. And I was like, yes. She mentions Mandela. Like she was a sponge. She was a sponge. And the conversations about her hair changed dramatically when you can see so many other little Black girls with all the different kinds of hairstyles that you could possibly imagine. And everyone is just like, yes, welcome. We love you. You like, and you have that kind of exchange of energy. She was 3 for the bulk of this. She turned 4 on the trip. And to watch her be poured into, and then her pour into as a toddler, I don't know. It showed us all the possibilities, and some of the things that we do to ourselves to hold ourselves back by subscribing to BS obstacles that were purposely put in our way to keep us, easier to control. But the more knowledge of self, the more knowledge of the continent, the more knowledge of specific countries that you have. And if you can find your way back home, whether that's through a book, whether that's through a social media site, whether that's, getting on a plane or a boat, or however you can make it, go home, because that's the door that will lead you to the rest and the best part of your life.
Amen. Well, I thank you for sharing. It is beautiful. The transparency, absolutely gorgeous. Thank you so much for your time. Have a wonderful premiere. Really enjoyed it. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Better shake your booties for Black girl nerves. Better shake your booties for Black girl nerves.